Hey guys, Steve here. Today we're going to be killing a couple birds with one stone. I always ask you guys for comments every video. A lot of times you guys give me requests so I can keep an eye on what you guys are interested in. Seeing Ismail pop up a lot lately, so I figured I'd cover that ship. And then this map, or this match, also features Sleeping Giant Domination Mode, which you guys seem to have a lot of questions on as well. So I figured since we got both of those factors in this game, it would be a good one to show. In terms of scoring, in terms of damage, it's a little slow for the first 5 minutes or so, so we're going to be talking mainly about the map there, and then once the action heats up, as it undoubtedly will, then we'll jump more into the Ismail. But Sleeping Giant, kind of the key for me is dividing this map into two halves. This vertical string of islands to the left of us here, as we look forward, you'll see it, but you can see on the map there, the long, on the left-hand side of the screen there, those islands. That divides the map into two halves. You got the eastern half with C and D caps located in it, and then you got the western half, A and B. Now, in my mind, the eastern half is the more profitable side to control. Why is that? Well, you can see both teams start off with a cap to begin with. So conceptually, with domination mode, we view these caps as sources of income, and once you get a lot of income, 1,000 points to be exact, you win the game. Sometimes you win other ways, but usually for domination mode, it's the first person or first team to 1,000. So if we can get that C, as we're going to do in this game, and you'll see a good example of it, not only are we adding more income every 5 seconds to our team's income, but we're removing the enemy's source as well. So that's going to be a double whammy, kind of a 2-for-1 in terms of how wide the differential between the two team scores is. It gets bigger, so we can do twice as much damage to the enemy team by capturing that C cap as we would be able to by B or A. You can see the Akatsuki on our team's trying to get B. Keep an eye on the map here. We don't even need to know, we don't have a line of sight what's going on there, but we can tell exactly what's going on because you can see all those ships over there on the red side. They all went gray simultaneously. At least now they did. He's 100% in the smoke, and he's stopped. The cap, contested. So we know for a fact he's not going to get the cap. But his response, very common strategy that destroyer players will employ. Sitting in a cloud doing nothing, waiting to die, essentially. Maybe they don't view it that way because they don't understand exactly what they're doing, but that's 100% what that play is. If you have no spotting over there, you're going to get rushed, or your smoke's going to run out, then you're going to die. He's violating kind of one of the core principles of destroyer play that we talk about a lot. When you're kind of dueling another destroyer as he is, you got to be closer to your support ships than the enemy's destroyer. Once we see where that enemy destroyer pops up, he's going to be right in the mix of his team, essentially. He could be a little bit more forward, but he's very close to his support ships. Blue destroyer, well, he's about 2 squares away on the map from his closest support ship, and they don't necessarily have great shots, especially due to the fact that they're getting no spotting over there. So once you are in that situation and you get the smoke down, be like, okay, I got to get out of there. This is bad. This is a dire situation. I'm going to die. He employed the mentality you often see, though. Destroyer players, they get into a cap either in domination mode or capture the base, and then once they're in the cap, they are physically unable to leave. It's like a reverse force field. You cannot actually get out of there. So you need to shed that mentality. Preserving your health, especially as the top tier destroyer in this match, extremely important. Capturing the base, a neutral base that wasn't previously generating points to boot, much less valuable. In fact, not valuable at all. So it's a horrible trade there. But what we're doing here, talking about what our role is here, we're preventing the red team from moving into C. That allowed our Fubuki to get up there, flip that cap, and now we got the cap, and we took away their cap. So that's that 2-point swing, essentially, that we were talking about earlier, and that's a huge play. Now, the Fubuki, once this Nuremberg's relieved of his life, he's going to say, okay, I'm a Japanese destroyer. I've even captured a base, which isn't required of me. I don't have any roles except for torpedoing battleships. I'm going to get at it. Now, he chooses to go after that battleship to the right. He does so in a manner which he basically puts himself in the middle of all 3 ships' backline there, which guarantees he will die Whether or not he hits this guy with the torps is a dice roll. He ends up killing him, yes, but you don't want to trade a destroyer for a battleship, especially not this early in the game. So, unfortunate play with the destroyers there. That's going to put a little bit of a burden on the rest of our team to get some things done. Just before the game gets rolling here, I do want to address what you see going on, which is the western spawns. I always play to the western side of that A cap. That takes 3, 4, 5 plus minutes to get over there. Anyone who's followed my content for any amount of time knows I usually strongly discourage players from taking themselves out of positions where they can affect the game. This is only a 15-minute version of World of Warships, and basically you gotta get off to a good start in most games. It's very hard to come back, especially in a domination mode game like this. So if you're unable to shoot over that island for the first 5 minutes, if you can't capture A because you can't get to it, you can't project power into A because you can't hit it, you're not really in the game for the first 5 minutes. So I don't like that position. Yeah, you probably got something in your memory, like I did that play once and I had a killer 3000 XP game or whatever. Fine. I'm just saying in general it's not a profitable play. What I would recommend doing, A and B spawn should cover B and try and win the center. Anyway, jumping into the Ismail here, look at the ship's diagram at the bottom of the screen there. That's the firing angle. That's the key to the ship. The key to Russian battleships, you get shot in the side, the game's over. You get shot angled, the game goes on and on and on. So how do we get the best firing angle in Ismail? We point our guns out the back. There's two advantages to doing this. Number one, you can get steeper firing angles, which protects you more. Number two, those back three turrets all turn. They go around the back end of the ship if you go from the left-hand side of the ship to the right-hand side or vice versa. So if you have the majority of your turrets that either go around the back of the ship or around the front of the ship, that's a strong clue as to how the game and the ship is designed, how the ship was probably actually designed to be quote-unquote played, if you want to call it that, or utilized. But I'm concerned about a game's perspective, and that's how the ship is designed to be played in this game. It favors firing backwards, pointing away from the enemy, and that'll allow you to, number one, preserve your angle, number two, keep those guns, the majority of the guns, on target for the the longest amount of time. Anyway, we're getting plane spotted here, and we kind of have Spidey sense going off because we suspect there's destroyers in the area. Because we were briefly plane spotted, this guy got a drop on us. He kind of knows where we are. That's a little bit scary to us, especially because he immediately drops the smoke. That suggests two possibilities to me. Number one, he already launched those torps when the plane spotted us. Now he's trying to disengage. Or number two, he already launched the torps and he wasn't really expecting us to be here, and now he's kind of like, oh, geez. Those would be the two reasons that I would think experienced player would drop that smoke in that situation. We have no idea what skill level this player is. It doesn't really matter. But those are the two situations I'm reacting to. Now, we didn't shoot our guns, so, he wasn't spotting us through the smoke. But we can see now, because we angled in towards them, we expected those torps to be launched. We actually sailed through both salvos that just kind of went harmlessly around both of us. So we turned into the Benson, even though I had a brief flash of saying, okay, I could turn away from this guy, because, again, we want to be pointed away from the enemy team. But it's usually easier to dodge the torps when they're going towards the destroyer. So that was the call we made there. Hoping the secondaries will kill this guy. You can see the secondaries don't seem to be that great on the ship. He needs to go to the right. You see that little gap between those islands? I think he could have gotten away. And that's a disastrous play. Whenever you get a destroyer spotted on the enemy team and he gets away, that's kind of a loss, a mini loss, or a big loss, depending on the actual outcome of the game. But one that's this close, and then if he could have gotten away, it would have just been demoralizing and potentially, throwing the game. Look at the ship counted. We're tied there. Red's coming back in terms of caps. So, the game is still highly contested there, but we did remove their last destroyer. That was the last destroyer in the game. So despite our two destroyers making key over-aggressive mistakes early on, that play kind of clawed it back. So a little bit of luck there, but we did kind of understand what that guy was trying to do. Or we at least knew what, there was a couple of possibilities of what he was trying to do, and we reacted to the one that was the most threatening to us. Assume those torps are coming, angle in towards them, And don't shoot, because we don't want to give our position away. If those torps weren't in the water, but he almost was on the reload, you know, had we shot, we would have been smoke fire detected for 20 seconds, and then we got problems. You could have torped us point blank range. So held our fire, closed in, he scurried away, then we took care of him. Mutsu's trying to get out of here, but the ship has a hard time defending it. This is the next pick of premium, by the way. We'll get to that one soon. But you can see there, nasty fire. We got 4 pens plus an additional citadel. Those of you that don't know, the citadel ribbons don't show up as an indicator. Like, if sometimes you'll get just a citadel ribbon and it won't say like you had an additional penetration or whatever. It's not a bug. Citadels are kind of its own class of shot result. Anyway, now we've kind of established some dominance. Now we'll start going to town on this guy. Getting into the build, how these ships are set up, they're kind of designed to be not that accurate. I think it's beyond 12 kilometers. So going for a long distance accuracy build with Galler, it's kind of fighting against the design of these ships. They're designed to be wildly inaccurate the longer the shot is. So you're kind of fighting against nature there. Whereas, you know, inside of 12 kilometers, the closer the targets are to you, the more accurate you get. So just due to the aiming model that's incorporated on these battleships, I think it favors the brawler build anyways. Very tanky ships. If you can get Kedrov in there with his turrets, these are nice close range brawling type battleships. Everything about the build, in my mind, favors the Kedrov build. I do run Galler on the Poltava. That's the commander I had when I set the record on there. I don't know if that one's been beat yet or not, but at one point in time, fairly recently, we got the damage record on the Poltava. That one's got a traditional aiming model, like a battleship aiming model. I believe the Nikolai I is the same one, so I still run Kedrov on that one. The only one I put Galler on is the Poltava, but in general, I don't have any issues with the accuracy. We do have Kenanam on the build right now, but I don't think you need that. I was just testing something out on the Vlad, I believe, and forgot that I'd changed the build, which happens to me all the time. So anyway, I like Kedrov. I would go with him for those reasons. The damage cons, you get extra damage cons. So I think you can get that with both builds, but then that's in slot 3, which is the dispersion perk on Geller, so why are we even bothering putting him in there if we're not going to get the dispersion perk? So just up and down the board, philosophy-wise, I think Kedrov jives better with this line. That's my opinion. Maybe you guys disagree with me. Let me know in the comments if you do, what your reasoning is. But just to cycle back to what we were talking about earlier with the maps, evaluating them. Yes, the discussion was for Sleeping Giant, but hopefully how I was evaluating the map kind of, you can use that approach for a lot of different maps. You know, if you do have a side of the map where each team controls a cap or something, or whatever the situation is, I mean, you can kind of identify those. Anytime you have an opportunity to flip a cap that's controlled, keep that in mind. That's a stronger play than capturing a neutral cap. Both are very strong. But look at the formation we have right now. I think this is the winning formation. We got C, D, and then B. I think if you can get those 3 caps, you'll win about 90-95% of the time. It's almost impossible to come back from that once you have that on lockdown. So that's how I'd approach that map. That's how I'd approach that ship. Hopefully you guys did enjoy it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. New to the channel, consider subscribing. Lots of World of Warships coming all the time. Questions, comments, leave them below. Love to hear from you guys. And we'll see y'all there. Peace.